Good evening. I would like to call to order this April 18th meeting of the Ascension Drainage District Number 1 Board of Commissioners. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Cagnolotti, would you please lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge?
Stand, please. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings on this meeting tonight. Help us to make decisions in the best interest of the people of Ascension Parish. Watch over them in these trying times. We're not far away from hurricane season for this year, so please help get us through this year with minimal or no damage at all. May we conduct the business tonight with an open heart and the truth as you teach it to us through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a public comment at the appropriate time. If you have any comment that you want to make on an agenda item, please see the secretary. There's red, green cards over there. Fill one of those out. She will get those to Mr. Lambert, and we will call on you at the appropriate time.
Mr. Chair, let it be known that Mr. Turner and
Yes.
Mr. Ogeron.
So Mr. Turner and Mr. Ogeron and Mr. Robert are not here tonight. Chair would entertain a motion for the acceptance of the minutes from the March 7th meeting. I have a motion by Mr. Mason, a second by Mr. Cagnolotti. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. In the chairman's report, I have a couple of things I need to make mention of. This commission is very aware of the challenges that the folks in Conway are facing. There is significant issues there, but there is no item tonight on the agenda that would allow for any kind of lengthy or full discussion of that. So I'm committing to adding an item to the agenda on May the 9th, which is just a few weeks from now, that would allow us to properly notice the members of the Conway community and make sure that those who want to be able to weigh in here can do so. Secondly, I'm going to pull item 6B because as exciting as that is, I think there is a solution to the red dirt problem out around Pelican Point and other areas around Ormat. It looks like there's a solution, but we're just not quite there yet. We need to circle another couple of wagons. So rather than have that discussion tonight, I think that can wait as well. And then I wanted to inquire personally about, and because there's no place in this agenda to do it, I wanted to follow up with, was there any kind of reporting to DEQ on the oil spill that took place? And can anybody elaborate on that for me, please?
I've got James LeBlanc here with safety. I'd like to ask him to come up as he ran that deal.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, James.
Hey, good evening, Council. So to answer your question, was DEQ notified the day of the oil spill that took place in Sorrento? The answer is no. DEQ was not notified. I can elaborate on why they wasn't notified if you would like.
Well, please, for all
Yes.
of our,
Yes.
for the knowledge of the commissioners and the public, I think that's a good idea.
So it should be noted that spills are required by reportable quantities, okay? So if you go to the DEQ site, first page of the DEQ site, I'm sure some of you got it pulled up. There's a PowerPoint presentation that's on the first page. On that first slide, the first thing they ask is this a reportable quantity? Ladies and gentlemen, we knew the day of the Sorrento incident that this was not a reportable quantity. We knew that it wasn't a reportable quantity. So During the response to the oil spill, I will remind you that I've been responding to oil spills for over 30 years. This is not the first oil response in Ascension Parish, and it certainly won't be the last. So during the response, I called the OEP director. We spoke for a good 20 to 25 minutes on the phone about the response, and we had came to the determination that DEQ did not need to be called because A, it was not a reportable quantity, and B, I would like to, on April 23rd, 2021, we had another oil spill. It happened on the Marvin Bro Pumping Station Road. It's when one of our employees was involved in an accident involving a tractor. And on this particular incident, the tractor overturned, and all the oil and the diesel left that tractor and went into the water. We responded to it, we put the booms out, we did everything that we were supposed to do, and on this particular call, we did call DEQ. DEQ, it took them about an hour and a half to respond. They responded, and on April 23rd, DEQ pretty much looked at me and said, James LeBlanc, if you have certified, qualified people that attended the HAZWOPER training that are certified to respond to oil spills, as long as you take pictures of the oil spill, take videos of the oil spill, and present that to us when we ask for it, that is all you need to do for us. This oil spill was about the same magnitude as that oil spill. So that is the reason why DEQ was not called that particular day.
I appreciate the explanation. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
sure
you,
it
ma'am.
benefits all
Any
of
other
these
questions?
commissioners to know what the procedure is.
Thank you, ma'am.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you.
Mr. LeBlanc, hold on.
Whoa, I have a couple of questions. First one is Mr. Lawler.
Yes, sir.
What is a reportable quantity? Because we heard it was anywhere from 12 gallons spilled to 12 quarts.
No, so, Mr. Lawler, I'll tell you that the reportable quantity of oil is 49 gallons if oil is spilled on the land. It's 1,000 gallons if it's spilled in the water. That is the Louisiana reported quantity on oil.
Do we know how much was spilled that day?
I think y'all talked about it a much, and look, I apologize for not being here the other night. It's the first time I've been sick in 2 years. But I think y'all talked about it in great detail the other night, and I think it was anywhere between 3 to 4 gallons that particular night. And we knew that because we knew how much oil the pump held. And we knew how, we knew what was on the ground. We knew what was on the concrete. We didn't know what had gotten in the water. But we knew, you could see the pictures. We knew we wasn't at no reported quantity.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir.
Very good.
Thank you so much. Thank you, James.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank y'all.
One quick thing, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, I've got another question, Mr.
So James, with the, we know they've been out testing the water. Did they tell you anything that was alarming, or DEQ was out testing the water?
That is
Did
correct.
they give you any reports?
No, sir. We have no reports from DEQ about any oil being in our water.
Okay.
None at all. No communications, no emails, no text messages, no phone calls to me from DEQ.
First.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, James. Appreciate you being here. Okay. I think that's all I have. Item 6, general business. Approval of amendment number 1 to the cooperative endeavor agreement with the homeowner for the elevation of site number 17214 to increase the total CEA amount by an additional $148,250 for a total CEA amount of $375,555.75 for 100% funding for the federal government in accordance with all FEMA regulations. Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Mason, a second by Mr. Melanson. Are there any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Thank you.
Congrats to that homeowner.
Yes, indeed. Item B has been pulled. We'll go along to item C, a resolution for the East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 to recommend an ordinance change to the Development Code regarding control of master drainage study data and use of the data as it relates to new development requirements. Mr. Robert.
Thank you. We are in the process of putting together the master drainage study, and I believe HNTB is working on putting all that data together. And our ordinance now requires that developers supply us with their downstream impact. And so the first development came up after our moratorium and ordinance changes, and the first thing they did was do a public records request for our data from our new drainage study. And I denied that request based on the deliberative process and the proprietary information exceptions to the public records. And it got me to thinking about this process, and really this data is changing all the time. We constantly have inputs in it. And the concern is that developers would take the data, apply it with their engineers, and then attempt to plug it back into our process. And it seemed a more efficient use for us to control the data and do the evaluation of the downstream effects and then make the recommendations to the developers for a fee. That's what other jurisdictions are doing. Central has already done a master study, and that's how they handle it. And so we had a meeting, and we are putting together an ordinance. We've already kind of started it, but I wanted to bring it here, get your a resolution to move forward on this process, because we risk taking our data, flinging it out to every developer that requests it, and then as they put it back in, it would be their evaluation of our data instead of one central housing place for it. And I believe Sean Chereau was here. He and I were talking about it earlier, and that is their concern. Also, under the public records exception to delivering this data, it should not be, if it was a public record or determined to be, it should not be until it's complete, and the study is not complete at this time. So I would like to authority to draft an ordinance, bring it back here where the parish controls the data, does the evaluation for new developments, and then for a fee, and then tells the developer what the downstream effects are or any changes that need to be made.
Motion by Mr. Mason. I'm awaiting a second.
I'll second, but I have a few questions.
Sure, you'll be next, Mr. Molossaw. Mr. Lawler has a question.
Yeah, I'm going to note my objection on a couple bases. First of all, a resolution isn't needed to draft an ordinance for us to look at. And it appears that this resolution is for us to support an ordinance that we haven't seen, and we just had an issue with supporting an ordinance that we hadn't seen that had information in it that was not consistent with what we were told, or disclosed at least. So that's my first concern, is that we don't even know what we're supporting here because we don't have an ordinance. I understand that we don't want to disclose information that's not been concluded. The studies, it's not been concluded, and that's a reasonable basis not to disclose that information under the public records law. But once it's been concluded, I think we have to really explore if there's a benefit, though, to having really taxpayer-funded information, to excluding that from giving it to the taxpayers, basically. So I think we need to look at this a lot further, but I don't think this resolution is necessary. An ordinance can be drafted at any time and then presented to us, and we can debate it and discuss it without a resolution. And I really don't feel comfortable, regardless of past events, of having a resolution that supports something that we haven't even seen yet.
If I may reply, when I met with CSRS, it was going to take some funds to look at this ordinance, to take the central ordinance and apply it to Ascension, and I didn't feel that we should be spending this money without bringing it before the board and kind of getting your blessing before because it's going to be a sizable ordinance, and so really I was coming here to have you involved in the beginning process, that we were going to be spending some money on some experts
bring this ordinance to you. So that the first time you didn't hear about it is when you had an ordinance in front of you. And so it was not an intent to try and put anything in front of you. There is no ordinance. Right now, I don't have it to present. It's just that you're okay with the process moving forward to change it so that the parish controls the data.
I understand that, and especially the costs, but the resolution says it supports the recommendation of an ordinance change to the development code regarding control of a master, blah, blah, blah. It says we're supporting this ordinance, which we don't have in front of us. Well, but you're saying it's recommending a change, Michael, but I'm going by what it says here. I just don't feel comfortable that we can support something that we haven't seen. If the administration wants to go forward and draft an ordinance on this, which I'm not saying I wouldn't support the ordinance, it's just something we need to see before we're going to approve the ordinance, basically, approve a resolution supporting the ordinance.
It doesn't say the creation of an ordinance.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe we need an amendment to clarify the language.
And even if there's a cost issue to it, a resolution doesn't do anything with funding.
So, Mr. Lawler, would you be willing to amend to clarify the language?
Yes, let me look at it again to see, make sure I can.
You do that. I'm going to give Mr. Melanson his time to weigh in while you're thinking about your language, and then Mr. Cagnolati has a question after that. Mr. Melanson.
Yeah, so first off, I'm a huge favor of the other ordinance, because FMP of 2021, when we started with HNTB, a huge selling point was the modeling that they showed us that they're doing in the city of Central, and how they were able to plug in the development and whatnot. So my question is, I'm a little confused here, because so this body doesn't set developmental ordinances. We do it as a parish council, but this body doesn't pass ordinances, and we're not the governing authority. So I feel like I'm kind of recommending to myself to support an ordinance, which we can definitely do.
So
But
I was treating this like a committee.
Okay.
Right. So the only people that can do ordinances is the council. But if we were in front of transportation or one of the other committees, they would make a recommendation to the council. And yes, you are the same body, but it should really be debated before drainage, and then a recommendation to the council for final approval. That's the process. And it does say recommendation of an ordinance change.
Okay.
And
so one other thing, just to put on your radar, because I think this is illegal. So we spent almost $3 million of drainage funds, for the FMP, and so I mean it's still going to have to go through the council. Any type of ordinance change. So I just want to kind of put that on your radar. Drainage funds paid for the study, but the council is going to have to change or create the ordinance to do it. I mean, I'm in favor of it. I just, I don't know, between the Drainage Commission and the council, and the funds that were spent, and the actual body who's going to pass it, just make sure we got all that legalese, kind of in order.
Will do.
Mr. President, can I allow Mr. Cagnolati to ask his question and then recognize you, sir?
I could probably clear up a lot of this.
Oh, please.
Okay.
John, you good with that?
First of all, I think John Paul brought it here because it is a FMP and it does relate to drainage, but he used drainage funds to pay for the actual model, and so that's probably why it's here. Don't need a resolution. Really should have just been for discussion. We need to discuss about how we're developing this and how we're going to use it as a tool so that y'all know, and if y'all get a call from a developer saying, hey, they won't release the model. Well, there's reasons for it. Number one, it's not finished. Number two, keeping the integrity of the model is important. And so we have to safeguard that in our process, and that process is being defined to help Sean Thoreau and others, as well as HNTB, to develop that process to ensure that what we spent millions of dollars on will be secure, especially when it comes to coding and the models that can be changed by a developer who uses their modeler to do that. And so we want to make sure that all those files and all that coding stays exactly the same. So we're in the process of debating, and this should have really just been for discussion. And so we need to let you know that we are leaning towards the process, which was mentioned, of allowing the developer to give the information and then having a third-party modeler do it. And that third-party contracted with us to understand the integrity of the model and what not to change and how to keep that file secure. And in doing so, and then that way, just like the traffic study, the developer's not doing the study. We are. And it's going to be consistent, and this third party will have no added interest or skin in the game. They're just being paid to run a model. And that is a additional tool, not the tool, but an additional tool to help Sean Giroux and our engineering review agency determine the impacts, therefore that can be given to the planning commission as well as the council if need be, and so that we can provide this process. So it really should have been for discussion, shouldn't have been a resolution, and it was just before drainage because we used drainage funds to create it. It could have easily went before council as well. So hopefully that cleared it up, and we're going to continue with that process as suggested to bring that process to y'all so that y'all understand how we're going to keep the integrity of this multi-million-dollar software project that we've undertaken.
Thank you for that, Mr. President. John Cagnolati.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll offer a substitute motion that we table this until we get more clarification from either the administration or those empowered.
Yeah, I'll second that. The President cleared it up
Yes,
very well. I mean, I think
very
that's
much so.
the exact direction we need to go.
Should I have, Mr. Melanson, do you have a further question?
Yeah, and I guess this is kind of, something with CSRS and HNTB with Sean and Mazan. So I know it takes 12 to 24 hours to run this model, whenever you plug new information in. So a whole nother part of this discussion is how do we charge someone, 24 hours worth of engineering labor to go to y'all's office and run the model to where, so even if we were, just openly willing to share these results of the H&H modeling, I don't even know how we would do that. So it just seems like there's a bunch of different, areas of this that, we all need to have discussion on, and I think y'all need to be included in that discussion as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Melanson. The motion on the table right now is to table.
I'll withdraw my motion and substitute.
And it's just...
To support the substitute.
Okay, and you're going to support the substitute. So we have a motion a substitute motion to table this until such time that we can have more discussion.
Yeah, I think you seconded it.
Yeah, I
You
second
seconded it. Are there any further questions?
Yeah, I think we're going in the right direction with it. Just
Yeah,
keep going in that
absolutely.
direction.
Thank you very much. All right, are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
So impressive.
Jeez, I know.
Well, I don't know what it is.
You don't have to hit it that hard.
My hearing's bad.
Well, no wonder it's bad.
No, it's not.
I've taken out my frustrations. Okay, here we go. Item D, an executive session, approval of drainage project over property of litigant in ongoing litigation in the matter of Shane Anderson et al. Versus Ascension Parish, 23rd Judicial District. I have a motion by Mr. Mason and a second by Mr. Melanson to enter executive session. Are there any objections? None. I need a roll call, please. Everybody vote. I forget when we're here and when we're in Donaldsonville. They hadn't come up yet?
No, he's talking about the motion to reconvene.
We good now.
Okay, so we have a motion to reconvene by Mr. Mason and a second, or Mr. Cagnolotti and a second by Mr. Wagasback. All right.
Motion to enter executive session.
Have a motion by Mr. Lawler and a second by Mr. Mason to enter a second executive session. Everybody vote. Getting ready to get us ready to go. I have a motion by Mr. Melanson and a second by Mr. Cagnolotti to reconvene.
I'll make a motion, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
May I make a motion to approve the resolution to join the litigation?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution to join the litigation. Are there any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We will move on now to the drainage reports. Item A, HNTB ADAPT Program Grant Application Monthly Update. Mr. Monzon. We just had a mass defection, Mr. Monzon. Give me a
Gonna
second.
take a second to load up.
I know that Mr. Lawler has to leave. I'm not sure about anyone else. Oh, yeah, Mr. Mason definitely had to leave too. So I'm not sure about Mr. Wagasback. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to give you an update on what we're working on here. What you're looking at is a Gantt chart of the capital projects. I'll discuss some of the hot ones right now.
We did receive final comments for the FMP. We're working to wrap that up and finalize the FMP. Bayou Conway Sorrento Pump Station expansion, that project is moving back on schedule. And then the Marvin Pump Station and levee upgrades, we received the final documents that we needed from Hartman. They were the apparent low bidder, the apparent high scorer, I should say. And so we're ready to enter into contract with Hartman Engineering so they can proceed with phase one, which is engineering design services for the Marvin Brook Pump Station and levee upgrades. We're also working on a bunch of grants right now, hazard mitigation grant. Henderson Bayou Pump Station, Safe House, all of these have been submitted. Savoy Arena Wind Retrofit, Les Chenier Lateral Detention, and the Wash Gully Drainage Improvements. We submitted 2 brick applications. One is the Burt Allen Ditch Improvements and Detention, and also the Marty Burat Lateral Detention. We are working on the LWI Round 2 pre-applications. Those are all due May 1st. We have the New River Stormwater Management Pump Station Project, the Jean LeBlanc Detention Project, the Upper Bayou Conway Drainage Improvements, and you'll see it twice. There's 2 separate projects for Upper Bayou Conway Drainage Improvements. And then there's also a separate pot of FLWI projects. These are, we have submitted 7 of them. They're not all going to get approved, but some of them you'll see also on LWI Round 2, in particular the Upper Bayou Conway drainage improvements. So we have the New River Stormwater Management Pump Station Project, Black Bayou Detention and Marvin Bro Road, Muddy Creek Detention Improvements, Upper Bayou Conway Drainage Improvements, Lower Bayou Conway Drainage Improvements, Upper Henderson Bayou Detention Improvements, and the Welsh Gully Drainage Improvements. So as you can see, we're working on a lot of grants. In addition to that, we're also working, one that's not shown here is DOTD statewide flood control application. Those are also due on May 1st. And that concludes my update. So if you have any questions on any of the grants or any other projects that we're tracking, I'll gladly answer them.
Thank you,
Good.
Mr. Mott.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item B, the Drainage Monthly Report. Mr. Robin. Mr. Robin.
Good evening, Ms. Terry.
Good evening,
Drainage
Jay.
Board. Good to see y'all.
Always good to see you.
Let's see. So I've got here our work order status report for the month of March. From conception of Munis, we've had 2,165 work orders inputted into the system. As of today, we're managing that 53%. We've been averaging 47 to 50%, so we're up a little. I'm proud of that. We've completed 1,151 work orders since March of last year. When Munis came online. So this is, I included this to give y'all just a little breakdown. This is just our drainage department, no others, minor surveying, EAD requests from you guys, culvert maintenance, major drainage and waterway. This is your yearly total of work orders that are put in by for these different departments, the subgroups within drainage. You can see minor drainage gets the most, 1,267. Total work order activities, this is something I didn't share with y'all lately. Thought it was kind of important this time of the year since we're a year into Munis. You can see digging roadside ditches is our heftiest with 347 work orders. Most of that is minor drainage work. So it is a huge job for those 4 crews that do that work. And runs into your sinkhole repair, pump trucks, just gives you a general idea what type of services that are being requested through the work order system throughout the year. Work orders, we had 200 new work orders for the month of March. We completed 113 work orders in the month of March. So there again, kind of supports that 50 to 53% range. Minor drainage projects completed in March. We completed 62 projects. Gave y'all a little breakdown on the activities. Your sinkhole repairs, 17, roadside ditches, 14, off-road drainage, 10, pump trucks, 7, installed culverts, 3. I think that data is a little flawed because I have 7 on my books in the office, so I'm going to have to look into that. Tree removals, bury animals, vegetation, off-road. I think that's a flaw, should be in Johans. Grading, dress up, and new driveway culverts is 1. Like I said, I think that's a total of 7, but Major drainage projects completed in March, shredding behind Santa Mo High School. Guys did a real good job cleaning that up. Upper Goodine laterals Tier 3 finish from Ferdinand Road to Alex Clean Road on the old mill. This one I wanted to give y'all just kind of a basic map instead of photos. We've all seen us dig ditches in photos. This gives you a really good wide view of how we're working this system. Gives you west and east of I-10. Everything in red has been completed as of now. Upper, lower, some middle Goodine work. We move on to the west side of I-10, upper end of Goodine completed. And what's in progress now. So we're beginning to shred Smith Bayou at I-10. We're digging Plug Road ditch at Clean Road. Ira Road ditch shredding at Severio Canal. Cortez Avenue box culvert upgrades, and I think those will be completed today or tomorrow. Reese Lane Highway 929 box culvert upgrade. And we'll go back to those Goodines. These are supports back or in progress. You'll see right now we're currently on Middle Goodine, 73 to Francine Circle is in progress right now, so we have major drainage out there working on that. Plug Road ditch, Thurston McCord to Anderson Road's also in progress. And that's west of I-10. So here you see the Ira Road lateral shredding in progress. Give you an idea on the map how much work's going to be done there.
Jade, if I may, those are very helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
To be able to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to start doing this every month because we don't highlight our guys enough. So one of these projects that we really like, we've got a crew in major drainage that installs some big, very heavy box culverts. These guys do a wonderful job. They've been tasked to do a lot of upgrading here lately with these culverts. And it happens to be a project that we're finishing today. So I wanted to mention Mr. Jamie Brown's crew, show y'all a few pictures of the quality work and the upgrades that they're doing in this area that's going to lead to further upgrades to get water out of this neighborhood. So this is kind of the start of the project, setting a set of 6x6 boxes in here. And this is back on Cortez Avenue in Villa Galvez. And then this pic here, I kind of wanted to show you what they had to do before they could do this work. These guys came in through the work and talking with this neighbor and the focus they had back there. They was able to put in a temporary road, a couple culverts that allowed them to do this work without restricting any water back there. It does take time to do this. This is some more pics. I just kind of as the work goes on, they have the double row set and they're setting their bulkhead posts at the moment. Few more working on the bulkhead. This is what it looks like, guys. Beautiful job. These guys do some fine work and just can't say enough about them. I really wanted to recognize them for it. And these are the type of projects that this administration is doing to get this water moving. And as Mr. Dipsey knows, we've got some work going on downstream of this. It's really going to improve this area and some good engineering behind it. So this is a view when you drive into that. Now this is gonna, I reckon they're gonna pave back on top of this temporary solution over the finish, that limestone, getting it packed down to support that bridge, that box culvert. So this is Mr. Jamie's
Jay, give
crew.
me 1 second here. Pause. Mr.
Yeah.
Lawson has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'm just verifying, this is work we've been planning for a while at, was it Hartman? Did engineering work with us and
This is the Villa
upgrades and
Galvez, but not necessarily that. What happens, when Dempsey was out there on that one of the last rains we had, what we had here is a situation where water was coming over the road. And so obviously there was not enough capacity to pass under that road. So this is an addition to the work we're doing where we're about the concrete line and improvements downstream.
Okay.
This was a site-specific issue.
Okay.
And we captured it on video. Dempsey was out there. Ron showed up, me and Jade, and we diagnosed the problem during the storm. It was sprinkling rain in by the time we got there, so we were catching a little bit of the after effects of the storm. But these residents have been calling Dempsey and everybody else nonstop. And so this was a site-specific improvement for capacity underneath that road. And this is going to save that road and It's going to help that upstream flooding issue for those residents in Villa Galvez.
Upstream of this.
Yeah, house has been flooding, and so this is going to work in conjunction with that. So
Okay.
this was separate than a Hartman. This is
Okay.
in addition to.
Thank you, Mr. Molson. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep.
Jay, go ahead.
Good deal. So last pick here is, I wanted y'all to see what crew does this amount of work and the caliber of work that these fellas do. And if you meet them out in public, give them a handshake and thank them for what they do. Because I tell you what, these guys work really hard. And if you go out there and put a level or square on what they do a really good job. But that's my mention for the month. And that concludes my drainage report for this month.
Very good.
Thank
Jay.
you,
And
thank you.
Miss-
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Mr.
just
Lambert.
real quick, I made it out there on a couple of trips, and these pictures, they tell maybe half of it, but when they have utilities, they have all kind of other things involved with this. It really takes, and that's one thing I want to really express on, the safety. Some of these channels are, 8, 10 foot deep. They had the correct shoring. They followed all OSHA regulations, and that stuff there, you just really need to praise these guys and, everyone that was involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dempsey. Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next item is item C, the vegetative monthly report. Johan.
While he's walking up, not to mention they completed the whole entire project with no employee injuries.
It's always a positive.
Good evening.
Good morning. Good afternoon. it's been
Another
a busy
try,
day.
another try.
I knew I would eventually do that at one of these meetings. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is my presentation for March last month. Giving you an update on our state highway contract. Cutting, we're at 25%. We had a significant portion of their cutting equipment went down, so they're at a standstill with that. Don't see any reason why we should not be able to hit our goals. Herbicide spraying is at 100% complete. Litter is at 69, and they were actually finishing some today before I ran this report. So we're looking pretty good on our state contract. Work order metrics for the call center, calls coming in. We had 61 new requests this month. Doesn't seem to be the MGO data before Munis kicked in. I can see an early trend that we will not have as many this year with as proactive as we have been in this last year. So I think we're set up pretty good on that. For the call center work that has been completed, we were able to do 63. So we had 61 come in, 63 went out. So we're maintaining this early in the season a 1-to-1, which is great. Overall, February, we were at a 72% completed. March, we're at 78. So I'm really proud of my guys. They are working hard and closing the gap to get as much work done as it comes in on top of all of our standard rotation and cycle work. So give a shout out to my supervisors. They've really been working busy out there. Our own internal work orders, hand cleaning and servitude is actually pretty far up there. We're actually being a lot more proactive this year, getting to those trouble areas we already know about that we identified last year. Tree removal's been busy, cutting off-road, doing as much as we can with the rain that's been driving us back off of our off-road. Our internal work orders data completion, you can see we spiked pretty high in March. 39 so far this month. Hope to be continuing a high productivity trend as far as our own internal work for this coming year. Any questions or comments on anything this month?
I don't see any. Thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you.
Good job. Item D, the Marvin Bro Pump Station Incident Update. Mr. Dawson.
Thank you,
Good.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I wanted to take just a minute and introduce Travis Blanchard. He's here tonight. We'll talk about, he's one of the principals in Triton. They're the ones doing the SCADA. We went out to 4 different engineering companies to do the PLC programming for this and the upgrades at all the stations, and Travis is a principal here. But he's also working actually at Marvin Bro. He's already been to Henderson Bayou and Sorrento, so he's just getting started, but I want to introduce him to you guys tonight. And Jade, if you can put me online here, you got however, I got the controls here. It's been a month since I did this.
And we old if we forget.
You know, so what, we left these 3, Madam Chair, the 3 different agenda items that
Yes.
you guys had asked. So we have the safety update, standard operating procedure, and equipment safety. And we'll start with the safety improvements, and I'm going to ask James LeBlanc to come up, please, and get you guys started on that. This is mostly going to talk about what's been accomplished.
Excellent.
So basically, what we're talking about tonight is what's been accomplished since y'all met last, which was March the 7th. So basically, and I'm just going to real quick, since Jade and Johan are giving out attaboys, I want to remind the council that there's at least 10 to 15 jobs that we average on a daily basis in parish government when it comes to drainage and vegetation, when you're talking about both sides of the river. And we make it a habit to try to visit at least 3 to 5 of these jobs on a daily basis, out there and go do field audits, making sure people are wearing their PPE and stuff like that. And I just can't say enough about what the job that Jade and Johan's crew is doing. That presentation that Jade showed of Jamie Brown's crew, I made at least 7 field audits on that job, and it's just amazing. It's amazing the work these guys are doing. So right now, safety improvements since you last met, which was March the 7th, River Parish Security is working on the pull stations, and we'll talk about that more, but these are the pull stations that's going to be inside the Marvin Bro pumping station and on the outside of the Marvin Bro pumping station. So no matter where an employee is, he'll be able to pull this pull station and set off the alarms that need to be set off to make sure that the proper people respond. Austin Fire Access and Engineering response to the fire marshal sprinkler system. Basically, they're working to you know, when we did the fire marshals audit out there, they wanted some work done around the fire, the sprinkler system and all that. Austin Fire is currently working on that right now. Intelcom is currently working on installing cameras in places at the Marvin Bro pumping station that we never had before. Safety painting, you're going to see that. You're going to see some pictures of that. Safety training, we finally have the contractor approved to do the firefighting training for the employees. We had to go through the process. That process is complete. And I know that the other day, this was, you know, a couple meetings ago, this was talked about, but I want to remind the council that we have been working on SPCC plans for parish government for over a year now. And I want to just let you know that we have full-blown SPCC plans for the Marvin Bro pumping station, the Sorrento pumping station, Department of Public Works on the East Bank. We also have full-blown SPCC plans for the Henderson Bayou pumping station, Lamar Dixon, and the West Side DPW. So these plans, we didn't just start working on those. We've been working on those for a year. These are full-blown SPCC plans that parish government has never had.
Acronym stands for the benefit of the public, Mr. James.
I didn't.
The acronym stands for?
The acronym stands for Spill Prevention, Control, and Countermeasures. You know, I know that was brought up a couple of times at a recent meeting. So SPCC plans are very important for our parish. So this is some things that's taken place since you met last. I'm very proud of these. March 14th, facility field audit at the Marvinboro Pumping Station and the Sorrento Pumping Station with Councilwoman Terry Casso. We went there on March 14th, went through the whole entire facility. We left Marvinboro, went to Sorrento, and Ms. Councilwoman Casso was able to see all the improvements that we've been working on. The very next day, March 15th, we did another facility field audit at Marvinboro and Sorrento with Councilman John Cagnolata, so I thank you very much for doing that. And then on March 19th, which was a Sunday, we did another field facility audit at Marvinboro and Sorrento Pumping Station with Councilman Michael Mason. I will say that Councilman Chase Melanson called at least 4 or 5 times trying to schedule his, but he was working those nights at the plant, so we still trying to get his in. Then we came back on March 20th and we did another facility field audit at Henderson Bayou Pumping Station, and then we went to the Donaldsonville Water Plant with Councilwoman Casso. On March 20th, we started our first scheduled meetings developing a PPE policy for all the pumping stations in the Donaldsonville water facility, and then on March 30th, we had another meeting. So we're developing PPE policies at these pumping stations and the Donaldsonville water facility. Also on April 3rd, Mr. Dawson already mentioned it, but we met with the Triton company, the SCADA company, and we met with them for several hours and let them know what their safety requirements were going to be when they were working at the pumping stations. And at that particular meeting is when we rolled out the brand new Ascension Parish work permit and JSA, job safety analysis. So now every contractor that goes to work at these pumping stations, they have to fill out a daily permit, and they have to fill out a daily JSA. And the way it works is when they come to work, they fill out their permit, they fill out their JSA. We make a copy of that, and we put it on a permit board at the pumping station, and then they keep a permit with them. And then, so throughout the day, whenever we go there to do an audit, we go to the contractor and ask them for their permit and ask them for their JSA. We can either do that to the contractor, or we can go to the field attendant that's working at the Marvinboro or Henderson Bayou or Sorrento and say, hey, what kind of work do you have going on today? And they'll bring us to the permit board and show us all the work that's being done on that particular day. At the end of the day, the contractor and the attendant get together and they combine those permits, they staple them, and they send them to me for filing. So that's all new. So now we're working with work permits and JSAs, which is something we've been needing for a long time. And we're also developing a new notification procedure that is ready to go. It's actually in the hands of HR right now reviewing. So this is the new work permit. It's just a copy of it, lets you know what's being filled out every day at the pumping stations. And basically it tells us the work that's being done that particular day, who's there, and basically that's what that is. And then, of course, the JSA, which the contractor fills this out, and basically they give us, like, we're working on this today, and these are the hazards that we think our employees may encounter while they're working on this job. At the end of the day, the JSA and the work permit is turned into me. These are some pictures of the painting that we've done since you last met, which was March 7th. So all these safety chains and signs and paint. And again, this is being done because of the managers and the DPW directors and the workers at these pumping stations. They have really, really taken a lot of pride in these pumping stations. And I think you can agree, Ms. Casso, and I think Mr. Cagnolata, I think you can agree from the first time you went there when you was the first elected till now. I mean, I'll let you say if you're impressed or whatever. So that's what we're doing there. This right here, this next slide, is the amount of money that's been spent on fire and safety equipment at the pumping stations since the fire. It tells you a breakdown of everything that we bought, purchased, and did at these pumping stations. So you're looking at, since the December 30th fire, you're looking at over $223,000 that we've spent on safety at these pumping stations. And I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but when no amount of money is worth our employees getting hurt. So we're taking it serious, and we have been taking it serious. And again, hats off to the manager, hats off to the DPW director, and hats off to the workers, because they're really the ones that's responsible for making sure this happens. That's my report on the safety update since your last meeting. I'll be happy to answer any questions before I sit down.
Any questions? I don't see any questions.
Just wanted
Mr. Lambert?
to, James and Parish President, what you think Mr. Marvin Bro and everyone's thinking?
Yeah.
The upgrades and different things, do you think they would be proud of what's happening out there?
Yeah.
I mean, we are the handlers of this. So, you know, it's time that everyone starts taking pride in different things. These are the jewels of our parish.
Right.
I mean, this is something that people, they gave everything they had.
That's right.
Whenever water is around your knees, and I mean, people stayed in these conditions for a long time, you know, I think we owe it, you know, to our people.
I agree with you, Councilman Lambert. I want to remind, I've talked to all of y'all first face to face about these incidents that happened, you know, and I reminded y'all that, you know, 31 years this Marvin Bro pumping station has been in service. 31 years. And we only had one incident. I'll take those odds all day long. But we took that incident very, very serious. Very serious. This administration and these leaders, I'm just a guy that gets to speak to you about it. The people behind the scenes that made this happen, and they're not stopping. This is every single day that they have taken this place and made it their home. And when I first got hired here over 2 years ago, and I made my first trip to these pumping stations, I said, these pumping stations have to be turned into an industrial facility. They have to be. And that is what has been happening ever since December 30th. And I could not be more proud of the work that's being done. And I think as each one of these councilmen make their trip over there, like some of them have done already, you will be extremely impressed at what's going on at these facilities.
It's amazing. It really is. And I thank you very much, you and the administration, everybody that's been involved, Bill, in making it possible for us to move forward. I think we talked right after the incident and said one day we're going to be glad this happened and that nobody was hurt, and that it prompted action, not only by this body, but by the administration. So I'm grateful now, so this many months removed from it, and appreciate everything that you all have done.
And
I certainly
we're not
encourage
stopping.
other members of this council to go and see. I think that you're not doing yourselves or your constituents a service not to go and see what's happening there. Mr. Cagnolotti, I think, has a point, and then the parish president.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciated the tour, and information was just unbelievable. You said we have one incident in 31 years. We've been fortunate.
Yes.
But I think now, having seen what I've seen at Marvin Bro and Sorrento, we're so much better prepared for what might or could happen. And
Yes, sir.
that's important. Safety of our employees, safety of the equipment. I mean, it's the biggest investment we have in Ascension Parish, if I'm not mistaken. So very impressive. Keep up the good work. And I know it's a work in progress. It's ongoing. So let's keep it up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so, you know, the work by the staff has been phenomenal. There's no question in that. And anytime you have an incident, of course, it's going to cost us a lot of money, and that's something that, you know, we always hope to avoid. But what you do with a instance like that, if you don't grow from it and you don't improve, you're falling behind. And so with the possibility of 3 brand-new pump stations being added to this parish, we're creating a mold for which those are going to be built, and we're going to be looking at every bit of safety that we have installed. Even the Sorrento pump station upgrades, we've had additional work done there, and so that we can add these improvements as we build onto that station. So, you know, kudos to the staff and this board and the whole transition from where we were from that incident to we are today and where we're going in the future, because we're shaping all of that. And it's going to be difficult for people in the future, 5 years from now, 6 years, to understand what took place from that incident, and because they're going to just take it for granted. They're going to think, oh, this just happened, this is just procedure. But it's this action that was taken that is moving us in a better direction and in the right direction. So kudos to everybody for everybody coming together and working together on this, because it's going to really provide us tremendous benefit in the future.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, James.
Oops, Mr. Melanson has a question.
More or less just a comment. I appreciate the yellow paint because I've tripped over them and things before. And matter of fact, whenever I was talking to Ms. Castro the day of the incident, flustered and walking around, and I almost walked out of one of them roll-up doors, right? You hit the chain. So I appreciate the yellow paint.
So I think one thing I'd like to reemphasize is I don't know if you guys are aware how it's difficult to institute these safety requirements. As those of you that work in the plant, you guys know that. You got to go bug people. You got to tell them, go put their hard hat on, go put their safety glasses on. But James has done a tremendous job of getting this instituted, and it's been very seamless. So I wanted to congratulate him and thank him for that, because I know how hard it is. I've tried to do it in other places, and it's difficult. But also the impact that having these job safety analysis and these work permits is going to give us real rewards in the future. And that this is another thing that we said, look, we got to have this. We can't go back in and do this work without having that happen. And so you guys that work in the industry, you can imagine if you walked in the control room and you just went out there and people did their job and they didn't tell you what they were doing. They didn't get a permit for what they were doing. So again, thank you, James, and your people for helping with that. Standard operating procedure is, we're still working on this, and it's part of what Travis's company has, is to take our operating manuals and bring them all up to date. So Henderson, everywhere from Henderson Bayou to Fish Bayou, Frog Bayou, all of these things, and get these operating manuals up to date. I think that Jade has put some things on here, which is, he wanted to give you an idea, or we're going to give you an idea of what's happened up to this point. So he's done a great job of getting these things labeled, and where they know what's there, what they need to do, what type of equipment to use. So that's an important part. Also, and Jade is a part of this, and they made a corner for somebody here, but it's more than just a corner. This is the operating station, where you can see that he's got the whiteboard there. He's got what's going on today, what he needs to do tomorrow. The permits are issued out of here. The permits are collected in here. So this one little corner is going to become our real control room. So we went through and equipment, safety equipment and safety checklist. We've gone and started on this whole process of inspecting this and getting these checklists all in place. Pump operation parameters, I think that we set all of these, and we went over this last time. I don't think I need to go over that again. We've got, to ensure that all pumps and equipment is protected from failure. I mean, we can do the best job we can. Obviously, you can't protect everything at one time, but I think the changes that we're making, keeping the operating manuals up to date and getting a computer program in where we can have work orders associated with that equipment is going to be a great thing. Equipment safety, as far as the status of pumps, this is from the fire. Pump number 1, all the engine repairs are complete, and the gearbox and the pump have been sent off for assessment and repair. Say on pump number 2, it's also off for repairs and expected to be back in service. So I think, Jade, what we're saying, we're gonna have six pumps in operation, is that correct?
We should have 6 pumps by the end of the week.
By the end of the week, and then we get that 7th pump before the hurricane season really gets in place. Just, I think we wanted to show you some of these pictures for those of you. This is am I correct, Jade? The only time that this pump has been removed. Is that right, Ron? So you can, and also see why you have to go in and dismantle the roof to get it pulled out. But if you look at this in comparison to the trailer, the picture on the right, you can see how big a piece of equipment it is. And this is pump number 2 or engine number 2, and you can see where it replaced the clutch assembly in there. On the air pressure system, this is something that Jay's been working on, and Ron have been guiding him on this, which is, this is the air supply that engages the pumps on the pumps to the engines. And he's got, if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see he's got a bypass there in case that regulator, one of the regulators goes bad, then they have a spare, they have that in line. Same thing with the air gauges. He's got one that tells you what the system pressure is. And he's got another that tells you what it is on the clutches. Again, we're at this. This is the alarm switch, the infamous alarm switch. But they've gone through. They've repainted all this, identified things, and it's definitely 1,000% improvement over what we'd seen before.
No cobwebs.
Yes, correct. Plan of action. So, and I introduced Travis is to bring in Triton controls. Again, go in and tell us everything that we have, number one, and then secondly, how everything should look. So our goal still is to have everything look the same and have everything operate the same. The management of change. So Ron and Jade have been collecting all the data. So when they make a change, they've got a place, they'll file that they're keeping all that. And once we get a management of change program, then we'll input that into it. I had sent this, Terry, to you, I think, and if you'd sent it out to the commissioners, but really this is, I've got about 5 pages behind that. I know you guys don't want to look at that, but I emailed that to you in case you get sleepy one night or don't get sleepy one night. But this is what we did to bring Triton in. This is how many companies we sent the request out to, what the responses were, but really there was a lot of other good companies that submitted. We thought that Triton was the best company. They're local in the sense that their shop is in Baton Rouge, but their other principal that couldn't make it tonight is actually Ascension Parish native, and he lives not far from Marvin Bro. Same thing here. Again, if I've got the details of this behind it. This is the 4 companies that we sent out was ISC, ECM, this Techno, and Triton. So I'd already introduced Travis, so I think that's good. Again, we really, Jade put together these costs, so I'll just kind of run through the slides here. I think the significant thing here is over $1 million so far, probably closer to about $1.5 million. And we'll keep up with this the whole time. We'll see what this costs. I don't know if you got something you want to say? And I don't know whether the insurance, does anybody want to talk about that?
I'd let Mr. Ball talk about it.
So we on board with the insurance company. The insurance company has actually made 3 trips, maybe 4 trips to Marvin Pro. So we have been meeting with them, and Jay's been keeping up a real good list. And Brett Hughes, our insurance agent, has been in communications with Travelers and several other insurance companies. So I think right now they're trying to figure out, with the damage that was done, what company is going to be responsible for the payment. So we're on that every week. So we're, like I said, just last week we met with another insurance company out there and brought them out there. So we're meeting with the insurance company quite frequently.
Excellent. I had a question, if I may. So I saw the money on the maintenance contract. So Ron, what is the status of our maintenance contract now going
Yes,
into
ma'am.
hurricane season?
So first off, thank you guys for the support on these contracts. Absolutely, this all would not have happened at the flip of a light switch had we not had these things in place and you guys' support behind that. So kudos to you all, and a special thanks to the contractor for all their dedication in getting this staff out there right on this incident for us. But we definitely see the funds that we've been expending. So we'll be coming back for an amendment on this. Hurricane season is right here. So I know the goal here is to never have something like this happen again, but mechanics are there. The potential's there. We just need to get our cushion back under us and our safety blanket for going into hurricane season. So in May or June, we'll probably be coming for amendment to prepare for the future on that. And that's why we haven't done that, is because we want to try to keep everything isolated to this prior to going into a new contract amendment. So that will be coming.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay.
I do have
I got another question. Mr. Malonzo.
Yeah, just comment. I'm appreciative of all the fire protection upgrades and training and everything. That's definitely needed. I just want to make sure that we continue to focus on the root cause, right? We had interlock that was not malfunctioning. I see we got a nice new little setup there now, and let's make sure that we have some kind of PSM procedure to where we're checking that at least once a month at minimum. Like I know at the plant in the industry, we do these things weekly to ensure that they're working correctly and whatnot, and stay on pace with Mr. Travis and Triton and getting these modern safeguards in place, right? I mean, all it is, we're over $1 million deep, because I think I seen $587 alarm wasn't working, right? So let's just make sure that we have a plan to where we're monitoring these things, ensuring that our protections are, that they're functioning correctly. And let me see, that's really about it. I just want to make sure, like, we're spending money on the repairs, we're spending money on the fire protection and whatnot, and let's just make sure going forward that we also want to spend money on the modernization of our pumping stations. Like I've said it, I don't know, a dozen times. Every time I go to Marvin Brew, there's 20 things right off the top of my head. I'm like, there ain't no way in hell that's flying at the plant. All right, so,
Yeah.
All right.
So, one of in the long-range plan, Councilman, is that we're gonna do an evaluation here and have a safety analysis, an operating safety analysis, which is what I believe you're referring to. From that, we'll get with how often we need to check which instrumentation and which pieces of instrumentation. But I agree with you 100%. And I hope that 6 months from now, a year from now, you won't recognize the place.
All right. The goal is to never use the $250,000 worth of fire protection. Like, let it go unused for the rest of its life.
Absolutely.
So, and we'll have other safeguards put in place to where.
Right.
And, well, if nobody else has it.
I've got another question, Mr. Wagasback.
Oh.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank y'all for continuing to do this update. I know I'd requested it from Ms. Terry, and I appreciate y'all implementing it. I know for a long time, even the last 3 years, just different meetings, having a system to catch what we asked the last meeting, and this is an example of how that works, and just addressing questions and showing progress. I think it's important for the public and also important for us as a board to understand what's being done, and that way when things come up that we need money or need to approve money, that comes up. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate that, too. I have one question around the SCADA that's not really relevant to what we're discussing, but it's dawned on me. You know, we kept Frog Bayou, and we have fish that's going to be SCADA'd. Will that be possible at Frog as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're not going to neglect the little lot.
They will all be on SCADA.
All right, fantastic. Just wanted to make sure.
As well as cameras. We're looking to set up the cameras so that you can see the gates being opened and closed.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I was afraid that little baby lock might get forgotten.
No, ma'am.
Now that big one moves that water out of there so fast. Thank y'all so much. Mr. Dawson, anything else?
That's it.
All right.
I do have just one.
Mr. Melanson?
Yeah, I want to wish you a happy early 45th birthday tomorrow.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Happy birthday tomorrow, Bill. All right, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Melanson to adjourn. Thank you all for being here.
Good meeting, everybody.